So, welcome you all. This is Ravi Gupta. I am editor-in-chief of a magazine called BFSI Post, Banking and Finance Post, and we are part of the Elets Technomedia group. This is a 17-year-old media organization in the based out of NCR, Delhi, and also we have been publishing a magazine called Banking and Finance Post, the e-health magazine, and a magazine on e-government, and another magazine on education. It's called Digital Learning. And today we are doing this panel discussion as a part of the BFSI Next Gen Virtual Summit, and the topic is around the how is uh, uh, the viral transmission of the digital future happening in the banking sector after the COVID-19 situation. So the exact topic is banking at 2025, the viral transmission of the digital future. And let me welcome our esteemed speakers. We have Sriram Iyer, who is the Chief Operating Officer of ANJ Bank. He's based out of Singapore. Welcome, Sriram. Thanks for
Thank you.
joining us. Thank you. We have with us Nishant Rathi, who is the founder and director of Neosoft. Welcome, Nishant. Thanks for joining us. We have with us Abid Saxena, who is the Deputy Chief Technology Officer for Digital Banking, State Bank of India. And welcome, Amit. And we have with us Murli Vaidyanathan, who is the President and Country Head, Branch Banking of Equitas Small Finance Bank. So, requesting all our speakers to keep their mics on mute, please, just to avoid background noise. So, the we are going to talk about how has the banking industry adopted the digital mode of working in this COVID era, how fast it happened, how what are the challenges in digital adoption at such a rapid pace, how are the consumers responding to it, and how it is impacting in the business itself, your profit and loss. So let me request each of the panelists to give their initial comments on it, and I will request Sriram Iyer to respond first. Sriram, please unmute yourself.
Thank you, Guptaji, for this opportunity. You said at the beginning, as part of the title, you said 2025. We are in 2020. I don't even know what's going to happen next month, let alone 2025. So I'm not going to claim that I have the answer. But reflecting on this crisis so far, and in my experience in this bank, the role covers all the countries where we are present, which is more than 25 odd countries. So we have had almost the benefit of the crisis hitting different countries at different points in time, starting with China back in soon after Christmas. So we could prepare ourselves a little bit better by the time it reached different markets of the world, which is the positive side, if you like, from a response point of view. But as a company, if you think of the crisis as a whole, there are three layers with which we were looking at it. One is adaptability. So how well can you adapt to the situation that we were all thrown, which is quite a sort of difficult challenge, because arguably this crisis never featured or does not feature in anyone's BCP plans. If at all, it might have featured in some annexure somewhere in some PowerPoint presentation. So there's no playbook to look at it. So there is the adaptability challenge that we had to respond to, I suppose all of you. Then there is the sustainability, which is, can you sustain this and for how long, which is what we are currently going through as different countries come back and different countries slip back in wave two. So it's been a mixed response from this, in the sense of the bank. And I suppose we are all past the stage where we are very pleased with the amount of quantum of working from home. And I think from an economy and health crisis, if banks can prevent this from slipping into a financial crisis, as it was in the GFC time, then I think it's a good outcome relative to what it is. I'm not taking away the human loss, etc. but at least the bank's a better place. The capital is good, and the liquidity is good, and the solvency is good. So, there are many points that we can talk about, but I'd say the way we talk about it within the bank is never waste a crisis and look for opportunities even during this crisis.
Great inputs, Shriram. Thanks for highlighting the point of not wasting a crisis. So let me request our next speaker, Murli, to talk about how are you seeing this situation. Murli.
Yeah, thank you all. Thank you, Gupta, for the opportunity, and thank you, Forum, for having me. Let me put this perspective. The problem is different for different sets of banks. In India, we have large public sector banks. SBI leads the pack. Then you have private sector banks where ICICI, HDFC, Kotak, and then you have SFBs. Then you have cooperative banks, and then this is how banks are stacked at this point of time. So you create an infrastructure at a given point of time when you are evolving in a different mode. So there is no BCP for anyone. Nobody has anticipated this. So it caught us off guard. In fact, as and when the news came, we need to be nimble-footed and get it moving was the demand at that point of time. So we had three things immediately done. We improvised on the existing products, and we went out and out digital, which is one of the very early mover advantage, so that we kept the kitchen fire on. Thanks to our mobile banking and internet banking proposition, we decided that we will use the digital technology for products, processes, and most importantly for the customer service also. So we were not prepared, but one thing what got best out of the crisis is coming together and making it as an opportunity. So we could seize it because we had something developed which was on the back burner called digital account opening, which helped us to garner quite a lot of customer. It's in line with SBI, or SBI Kotak 811 type. So we also created our own selfie range of products that took us towards the video KYC. And now that platform, digital platform, has become most important platform to an extent that 88% of the transaction of the bank is now happening through digital mode. So customers were able to adapt to themselves. Customers were able to do it yourself. It's a straight through process which we improvised and innovated. Most important thing, we could handle this entire situation as of now and seeing going forward also. People working from home, able to handle it within their desk or within their room inside the house. So this has been a huge transformation in terms of bank's culture, bank's philosophy, and most importantly, customer finding it 24 hours, actually a banker on call. So I think one good thing this crisis has done is put banks ahead of the curve in terms of digital, technological, and service-centric attitude at this point of time. So I would like to park my thoughts here and move on. Thank you.
Excellent inputs. Excellent inputs, Murli, and great to see that the bank adopted digital so fast, and customers have also responded in the same speed. Amit Saxena, your views on the current situation?
Yeah, thanks, Ravi. And State Bank of India, being the largest public sector bank of the country, we carry a lot of responsibility towards the country itself, because we are the bank to the nation. And so what we are supposed, first of all, this got all of us into a situation which we have never thought of. So we have done all the exercise for a BCP itself, but we have never done what we call as a HCP, which is a human continuity, right? So in this case, the systems were working fine, but we were not sure if humans are not made available, then how the system will work. So what we have done, and this is a learning curve for the whole of the bank itself, wherein we move away from working from office to working from home. Right? It's a huge forward step for the bank, a bank which have never done or used kind of this concept, but we have actually done it very well. Also, the outcome what we have seen, the productivity of our people and our partners have increased too much during this time. And we never thought we would be having that much of a productivity. So the first lockdown happened on 21st of March. You understand the 30th or 31st March, we are supposed to have an annual closing. For a bank of our size, our annual closing exercise is a humongous exercise. And we were able to do it very successfully without even. So, if you ask all the customers of the bank, you would see that they have been very satisfied the way their annual returns, etc., have been filed within the bank. Having said that, as we move forward and as we have got a digital platform called You Only Need Fund, and on which we have been providing all our digital services, which has been a great success. We have seen the adoption of that during these 3 months was a multiplying factor. Let me put it this way. We never thought that so many people would get registered. And being the largest bank in the country, having, a kind of 760 million account and 421 million customer, the opportunity is huge. And we have used it to our advantage, wherein we have rolled out new services, new features onto a digital platform. It's 100% end-to-end digital platform wherein you can open an account without ever visiting the branch. You can complete your KYC, and as Molly rightly said, the video KYC part that we have also done. Right, it's in COG currently, but you would see it will be launching in a week's time or 10 days time. So this was a great opportunity, but it was a great learning experience also. Learning experience from an aspect that what we understand that the banking would change in coming days, and we have to start looking it from this aspect that maybe the customer won't ever like to come to a branches, and that's a revelation sort of for the banking industry itself. But we are working toward it. We are working to make a system which is 100%, kind of digital ecosystem, and so the banking services will be provided to a customer on demand, and not once the customer reaches the branch or any interface with bank. That's it from my side. I would park my thoughts.
Sure. Uh, uh, Amitji, again, your inputs about that a great learning experience. I think for all organizations it has been the same, and very fast learning was required, and great to know that the your platform Uno got a very good response in these times. I think like it would have come as a savior, in fact. Excellent. And let me request our industry expert here, Mr. Nishant Rathi, who is from the News of Technology and who have been providing services to the banking sector. So your views and on this situation, Nishant.
Right. Thanks, Ravi, and great insights from all the others in the room. So, we've been working with banks for the last 2 decades, and there's been a lot of digital adoption across, whether it's small, medium, large, international banks, and so on. Uh, we're very fortunate that our Indian banks have been early adopters, and we see that as an advantage right now during Corona times when most of them are geared up to even do digital KYC. Not only one bank, but multiple. Many of them have thought of this and even done that. I remember the Amitabh Bachchan campaign for ICICI Bank, where they had digital account opening, which has again become a standard practice across, I would say, 90% of the banks today in India. So, in the current situation over the next 4 5 years, we're looking at during COVID times as well. I believe digital first is going to be the next thing that every bank has to do. While they initially had their platforms and they were used as a secondary most of the times, today those platforms will be used as the primary touch point from a customer in a banking perspective, which is what will help banks offer superior customer value. And everybody knows about the 4 pillars of banking, where you have omni banking, modular banking, open banking, and smart banking. So digital is going to enable that. Banks are going to even further innovate be able to go nearer to their customers using digital platforms, whether it's account opening, account management, or whatever. And I believe India is ahead of that. Our banks are ahead of that. We've been a part and parcel of this, becoming partners with multiple industry-leading banks to enable their digital initiatives, and we've been helping them. We've been contributing wherever we can. That's it.
Excellent. Uh, uh, Nishant, thanks for highlighting the digital first part for banking. And let me ask our panelists the next thing, that we are all talking about digital adoption, but we are all, we in a country, especially in a country like India, the challenges of connectivity, the rural areas, the challenges of devices, challenges of language, all these are existing challenges in a country like ours. And so, in these situations, how much digital adoption is really possible? Is it a myth, or is it a digital enablement of banking itself? So, let me ask our panelists about the challenges itself, and let me request Shrikant to respond, and requesting all the speakers to put their mics on mute, please. Yeah, Shija. So,
I think that's a difficult question. I can respond from a corporate and institutional point of view, and in our case, it's fair to say that being present in multiple markets, the challenges of language, or we are in Myanmar, we are in New York, we are in New Zealand, so there is a diversity of the capabilities and the infrastructure that's available even in the global picture that we are in, and it might be somewhat representative of the challenges that we might have in India, particularly on the retail banking side. So from a corporate banking side, from a global point of view, these challenges have always been there, and the real question is really whether you are strategically anchored to decide where to invest capital, very precious capital, for what kind of capabilities. So something that works for our customers, for multinational customers between London and Singapore, may not make much difference to our Korean speaking customers, or to our Thai customers, or to our Vietnamese customers. So then the challenge is really strategically, where do you invest for what kind of platforms? So the more we can focus on the customer segments and then allocate precious capital for the channels so that customers can onboard themselves to us, the smarter it would be. Otherwise, we will waste good money behind bad digital front end. So there is that question, and I suppose it boils down to two aspects. One is your decision making on prioritizing investment choices, and the second is your ability to actually execute. And it is really moving from PPT to EXE. You can make as many PowerPoint as we like, but you got to really implement things in different countries. So if you got good execution skills, then the challenge that you talk about, Gupta ji, is somewhat mitigated if you're sharp in your strategy, and if you're sharp on your tech-driven execution skills. And I know this is a generic response. There are many things which sit underneath this, but my argument is it's not impossible to cross these challenges. And I'm not talking of retail in India; that is a different set of challenges. But at one level, it is similar, that the disciplines of how you invest and the disciplines of execution will determine whether you can really make a difference from a digital adoption or not. And from hearing what everyone is saying here, and I know that the skills of getting things done in India in particular, somehow it always happens. So we should draw comfort from that and get some confidence. So I'd say it's a mixed experience when I think of our own bank. At times it works quite well, but customers are also large customers themselves. Many of our customers are bigger than the bank. Many of our customers are older than the bank. The bank is 180 years old. Many customers are 300 years old. So at times, hubris and arrogance can bring us down. So we have to learn a lot from our own customers, whose, for example, treasury platforms can be far smarter than what the bank has in its own right. So it's a mixed bag, which if there is willingness to learn, then I think most challenges can be overcome.
sure. Sriram, you have given us a view of the overall Asia impact and various countries having different challenges itself. And I think we see a similar situation in various states of the country. So let me request Murli to give your perspective on the challenges of digital itself.
See, like we know, any bank is present on 4 category of locations. One is metro, then you have urban locations, then you have semi-urban, and then rural. This is how you classify or segment India in terms of geography. For a metro and an urban customer, do it yourself, and going through a straight through process and then using digital as a mode is now more or less way of life, whether he's self-employed or salaried segment. So there's no what to say second reason for us to educate. They are already up the curve. Only thing what they see is what sort of an app and which is more convenient, and where am I getting the optimum price levels. So when we launched this pure digital product, which by itself is only as old as this COVID at this point of time in terms of number of days, the graph is in line with what we anticipated in metro and urban. So it's catching up well. Salaried, self-employed professionals are preferring it. Self-employed non-professionals are coming in for more transaction, which is a very good sign. The second category is semi-urban and rural. Now, semi-urban is earlier we had our own speculation. Will semi-urban and rural, will they adopt? The most surprising part is in semi-urban locations, the amount of instinctiveness and amount of the ability for the person to handle smartphone, thanks to all the technology and the telecom industry, what they have taken India up the curve. At this point of time, navigating a phone or navigating through the technology through an assisted mode is far more easier. And what we did was, there we made customer accepted link. For example, if a person is showing an interest, we used to send the link to that customer, and then we have a assisted mode. And only once we have done this assisted mode, post that customer by themselves have started moving in. The good understanding of that is we also sell a lot of protection centric plan insurance based products like any other banks. For this quarter, 100% of the consumption has come only through digital mode. Whether it's a metro, whether it is a urban, whether it is a semi-urban. So the amount of one assisted their expectation to be guided once, if we can make it, semi-urban falls in line faster. And on the rural side, we have our own business correspondents and business facilitators who are there. So BCs play a very important role at this point of time doing the last leg transaction. Already they are doing the, one of the things, AEPS and ABPS payout, which people are familiar with it. We train the business correspondents towards the new era of how do they actually, when a customer comes in, how do they open the account, what should they look into it. So business correspondents are playing a very important last leg role of transaction build-up and creating awareness. So I think in a matter of 6 months, I think rural will pick up. But one of the biggest challenge in rural will be the amount of smartphones available on these platforms. Still, you have the old technology, 2G, 3G. So people are confining themselves only to receive calls, doing missed calls. So there will be a gradual progress in rural happening. Metro and urban already adopted. I think semi-urban should be the next big money spinner for all the institution at this point of time. That's my view at this point of time. Thank you.
Excellent, Murli. Thanks for identifying the various sectors and the various levels of adoption in various cities and the urban and the rural areas. So, Amit, your perspective on the challenges in adopting of digital. Amit,
Yeah, so let me say it this way. If you see, can you
yes,
hear me?
yes.
Okay. So if you see that State Bank of India caters to every every type of we have got every type of customer, whether it's rural, urban, or who is who of the country. Right? So we have got every type of. So what we have seen, and this is sort of amazing to see that how quickly our country adapt to the changes which are happening. So what we have seen, the people whom we have always thought may not like to do a digital transaction because they they have never used a channel like a mobile itself to uh, do a transaction. We have seen an upsurge in that. Apart from it, I would tell you one very fine example. We cater to our, and I would take both examples, one from retail, the other one is from corporate. So we have got a very different segmentation of customer who are related to agriculture. Right? So we launched a Krishi Gold Loan on YouTube, and we were amazed by the response what we have got for that. Because how many people would like to take a gold loan itself, right? And this is something which was driven from the branches itself. This was never tried on a digital platform. So it's an end-to-end digital journey wherein you give in your request and you consent and upload all those stuff. The only place where you have to visit a branch is when you have to physically submit your goal to be evaluated. That's a kind of so that's a segmentation which we thought we would never do a digital lab. The same thing what we have seen. So we on a MSME sector, you have got people who are running corporates itself, and also what we have seen there are people who are a single proprietorship kind of thing, people who are running kirana shops, etc. They are also a customer. The way we have just now launched on we have got a bank due on 1st of July, in which we are aware. And we have launched a pre-approved business loan. Right? So we already have a pre-approved personal loan for retail. We have launched a pre-approved business loan for such customers. And the response has been very great. So we have got a Yono as a retail as an application. We have got a Yono as a corporate also as an app, as well as a portal. So what we are looking at going forward, you would see, and India would set a standard how a banking would be done in future with respect to the both from a technology perspective and also from the offering perspective. You may not have seen a lot of those offering coming both for corporate and retail. Retail is a very focused area, but we have started working on the corporate side. So the Yono corporate version is already out, and being a 211 years old bank ourselves, we are ready to change. We have transformed first retail part of it. We are ready to transform everything, how we interact with the customer, how we are, kind of provide the services to our customer. And that's why we have also launched Yono branch itself, which itself, so there are 3 branches which we have launched, which would give a very differential kind of a experience to our customer if you visit. One of them is in Seawards in Navi Mumbai, another one is in Bangalore, and third one is in Hyderabad itself. It's kind of an experience the way you go into a coffee shop and do things on your own, and so bank is ready to move it in that direction, and also we are ready to transform our outlook, the way we have been perceived. So from a technology side, we would ensure that the whole of the banking system would be embracing newer technologies and would be working to make sure that give that kind of experience. And I'm not talking only for corporate perspective, I'm talking about 360-degree perspective. So whether it's treasury, whether it's corporate banking, SME banking, and we have got operations out of 69 different countries also. That also. Thank you very much.
Great, Amit. Thanks for the inputs and the variety of clients you handle, the range of uh, countries and the states and the districts and the villages you are serving is enormous. And your example about this Krishi gold loan was very enlightening. So let me request Nishant to give a perspective briefly. Nishant.
Right. So I think the rural India will always remain a very interesting segment. It's definitely going to be challenging at this point in time. We work with a lot of fintech companies and digital banking side of it. we see that there's about 15 to 20% penetration in rural India, which means there's an entire 80% market which actually can be captured. So while it's challenging, it's also a huge opportunity for anybody in whether it's digital payments, banks, or otherwise. We've been working on some very interesting concepts. I want to highlight one of them. We spoke about internet connectivity in the rural areas. So there's this startup which we've been working for. They've come up with this very interesting idea of having these vans which will be ATMs and payment collection, vans basically. So they would drive into the rural area instead of having an ATM over there with internet access or with lease line connectivity, which could be challenging. You have these remote vans which would drive in and allow people to use the bank the way they would. So there are these innovative concepts which I think every bank will have to think of. Like I said, there's 80% market, which is 80% of the audience is still uncovered. So there's a lot of traction over there. There's a lot of ground to be covered. Anybody who's leading in that, I mean, SBI is a fantastic example. It is one of the leading banks in India, and they have super presence across rural areas. I'm not sure the number, but I believe a majority of their branches will be in rural areas where there probably is just another competitor for them in that market. So, having said that, from a private banking standpoint, I think they have to think of innovative ideas to get to the rural audience. They have to think of innovative ideas to be able to retain those customers that they've acquired in those rural areas. There's another very good example. If all the benefits which the government is giving today, it wouldn't be possible to pass on to the farmers without them being on the banking platforms or having those Kisan credit cards, right? So they moved on to digital payments. So similarly, I feel that every institution has to think of solutions to cater to this market, to be able to grab their share of the market, and they will see the benefits on their top lines, bottom lines, everywhere.
Excellent, Nishant. Excellent inputs about that 80% of the market still being uncovered in the rural areas. And last, we are at the end of the panel, and the last question which I'm asked to asking the panel is about that there is a digital about customer and there is a digital adoption inside your office itself. In the situation that most of the employees are working from home across the globe in the banks, and banks data are always considered very important, and data secrecy or privacy and cyber security as the important issues which are emerging. So asking all of you that how has been the journey of digital adoption in your employees in the banking system internally, and with the changing of location from office to home, what are the new challenges and opportunities which have emerged? So requesting Shriram to talk about it, please.
Well, I'm really happy you brought in the people dimension of this discussion, because there's only so much that technology can take us all without the people. So massive learnings on many fronts when it comes to people, all mostly on the positive side. The reason I say mostly on the positive side is there is a fairly largish impact on people from a mental well-being point of view, which nobody anticipated. And obviously, the longer this continues, the more difficult it is for people to sit in their drawing rooms and do transactions worth millions of dollars. So there is that aspect. But that on the one side. On the positive side, the list is really, really long. For one, most employees, I believe in most companies, have shown a kind of innovation mindset that in the previous pre-COVID days they did not have to show. And even if you step out of banking, if you think of innovation about entertainment at home, about food delivery at home, about fitness at home, about learning from home, about working from home, the list is so long, all of which has got manifold acceleration in the last 90 days. So employees have shown remarkable resilience and adaptability in meeting the bank's requirements. So that is a big factor. The other thing I'd say is, what is the future of, is it really future of work, or is it future of work at home? There's now a question in our minds as to what that model should look like. The aspect that employees, you can trust employees to take right decisions is a very powerful one, because I must confess that many of us have a inflated view of our own importance in the company, and if you are not taking the decision, then you don't trust employees to take the right one. Whereas COVID has proven that when frontline employees take decisions, 9 out of 10 times it will be the right one. So the management bureaucracy that always enveloped the way, at least certainly a bank like ours worked, that has got blown out, and there is now a, what is loosely what I prefer to call as a minimum viable bureaucracy that you must tolerate within the bank. There is the balance of what used to be called work-life balance, but I'd say it is work-life blending versus work-life from home, which is there's a coming together of that world. There is a very positive impact on our women folk who are among our staff, who this thing has opened up the combination where you can work from home, trying to balance your personal matters along with the company matters, which is extremely powerful. So the list is genuinely long, and I might just summarize to say that COVID is COVID, but a bank's response is first about people, and it comes back and loops back to people. And in between that journey, you got technology, you got digital adoption, you got solvency, you got capital, you got all of those questions. But eventually it comes back to the people point. And I think on balance, the story about people and engagement is far more positive than the negativism around COVID that we see.
Excellent inputs, Sriram. Thanks for highlighting the positive aspects emerging out of the situation. Requesting Murli to respond on this, please.
Yeah, this is a very pertinent one. So, like I keep saying in most of my meetings also, if you remove people out of a premises, that brand doesn't exist there at all. The biggest brand ambassador for any bank which I have seen and where I'm working is the person who is working there at the front. Work from home has created more ambassadors, to be very precise for me. The three things that has happened. One is, like you rightly said, customer adopted faster, but the employees adopted and started using application part of what relevant needs to be sold, what relevant needs to be serviced. They have picked up very fast. Then the second part is the individual work ethics. When you are in a group and when you are alone, always like Sriram said, there is a hypothesis in the mind that how will individual will take a decision, and it's 9 out of 10 times what we are seeing or what I'm seeing is absolutely fine. So which means the individual ability to understand, grasp the situation and reaction time for that has improved significantly, and that has increased the customer effectiveness and customer value management, what we keep saying. So technology as an aspect, one part of it, people as a person consuming technology and then radiating out what is most needed at that part of it, and the security part of the technology, anyway we are on that VPN. So I think there is no compromise on that. So the biggest gain for the organization is in coming days, I'm 100% sure hierarchies will collapse. The gigantic hierarchies what we keep having across many organizations, the layering will come down to 3, which will become a real flat structure, can be run across the organization. Can you believe we are running a phone center, scattered people across multiple homes? So every house is becoming a branch at this point of time. Every mobile phone has become a branch at this point of time. Every individual has become a branch at this point of time. I think the leveraging what the bank has got out of this COVID situation is something, a new learning, something, a new culture that's enabling the organization to take a bold call. Even when we come out, can I stand up and say all my 20,000 employees are 20,000 branch type? So it's that sort of a ambience if we can create. This can be a game changer in totality. So I'm sure that in coming days we will see more of this innovation coming in, more from a people approach and attitude, because digital at some time, or at some stage needs to get saturated, because beyond which it's like an incremental service. How it is being used or delivered is going to make a bigger sense. I think having a one-man branch or private suitcase banker enabled with all possible sales, service, transaction abilities is going to be the future. And there I see a huge opportunity for even an emerging brand like us suddenly to start up and say, yes, I have all 8 lakh villages or 10 lakh villages in India. I can cater to by leveraging digital or riding on people through little bit of digital type, which we are already on the talk process. So I'm sure something big will come up there. But this culture post digital adoption of employees is the biggest eye opener for us, for me, and for the organization. Thank you.
Yes, Murli, excellent points that this has been an eye opener. No one ever believed that banks can be run from homes. So, Amit, your views, please.
So certainly, as all the panelists said, this this has been a biggest change, I would say, what a bank have seen in a decade or so. The technology side changes every bank have been trying to do, but how to get your own internal stakeholders to adapt to such kind of a change, which was a knee-jerk reaction itself, and ask them to from tomorrow that you would be working from home and all your decisions you have to take onto yourself. Understand there's a huge paradigm shift which happened during this time. People they and see there are a lot of times a lot of people think that they should ask their superiors to make a decision or not to make a decision or whether it's a right decision to discuss it. There is no opportunity this time to do such kind of thing because you are working on operations, you are supposed to do something, whether it can be done or should be done in this way or not. People have to stand up to that situations and they have done an excellent job. Learning for them has been that they have been uh, very kind of they feel a bit more involved. What we say is they have become a more engaged employee than of an employee who thinks that he's responsible for something. And once you have got such a huge workforce like we have, every employee get engaged who get a sense of that uh, this thing needs to be done and they would stand there to get that thing done. We have seen the first month itself, the first lockdown has been uh, a kind of disruption which we took a couple of days to handle and manage. But beyond that, we have seen such a collaborative workforce whom we may have thought earlier that maybe they have been doing things right, but whether so we have seen those personality traits and leadership traits, which I believe we would have take some more time to understand. But our internal employees or the stakeholders have been very supportive and we can't praise them more at any given time. But this has been a very cohesive kind of effort which have been put up by, I won't say only the State Bank of India, I'm sure this is the same situation across banks itself, because banks come as essential services. Not even a single day a branch was closed or a bank has not worked. So it's kind of an amazing kind of effort what we have seen and the way how people have adapted the changes.
Yes, Amit. I think in this times of lockdown, banks were the important organization which were open and people were still going to offices, and that was a remarkable thing. And also, a lot of employees work from home in the banking system, which was very important to run the economy itself. And last comment from Nishant, your perspective on this.
Right. So I believe people have digitally transformed where somebody would take a 1 hour, take a 2 hour flight to do a 1 hour meeting in Delhi and then come back to Mumbai. He's doing that over Zoom. It's become more efficient. People have become, I would say, we would try to nurture this culture in our software services company, that instead of being task oriented, be result oriented. Take up that responsibility and make sure that you deliver, and that you take those decisions right. 9 out of 10 times you will be right. There'll be that one time where you need your mentor or your boss to guide you, but 9 out of 10 times you will be right. And believe it or not, but people have digitally transformed. They have accepted this as the new normal. They are doing much better. Their efficiency levels are dramatically. We are happy, being a services company, and I'm sure all the other banks will be. You may have talent sitting in X city, you're sitting in Y city, and you still want to hire that guy because he's not available in your city. Today, that's possible. You can hire talent. So instead of bringing talent to you, you go near the talent, and digitally it's possible. So I believe this is here to stay. You've already seen the announcements from the bigger technology companies that they will slowly make sure that 50-60% of their workforce actually work from home, saving them time, money, efficiency. Somebody spoke about our women colleagues who are struggling between home and office. Become easier for them. Of course, the men also realize how difficult it is working from home, right? I'm sure everybody has experienced that. So, and we're all waiting to get back to office and our chairs. But I believe India or even the world has accepted that people are moving. Productivity levels are going from I'd say low levels to the highest of levels, and they'll only get better. People will organically grow internally and be able to contribute to this entire digital transformation that's happening thanks to, or I would say fortunately, unfortunately, people the coronavirus. So I would say this is here to stay, and everybody has to contribute and make sure they progress with in this space.
Yes, Nishant, excellent inputs, and thanks for highlighting that how hard it is to work from home. Like we all also realized that, and we are almost at the end of this session. Just requesting each of the panelists to speak in one line or two lines max about the opportunity this crisis has created, and we will end this session. So let me reverse the order a bit, requesting Murli to start first.
Yeah, this has collapsed boundaries in a physical mode for a bank. Ideally, you are always worried about branches, locations, people. So here, through this, I think we have done enough exercise. It is boundaryless. I think digital by itself, a virtual bank can exist. Virtual transactions and customers do prefer that. I think world opens up for all those entities which is ready to walk in that path also. That's my view.
Yes, Amit, your perspective, please.
So how we are looking at this whole situation is that there's an aggregation which would happen. The people who are able to provide the services to their customer in a manner, the way customer perceive it should be provided, and not from a bank perspective that you should, if you want this service, then you should do these steps. Right? It would be the reverse order. Bank has to agree to how a customer wants that service. So it's like a bank reaching to a customer, then of a customer coming to a bank. So that is going to reverse the whole order of banking.
Sure. Excellent input. Murli, requesting you to mute your mic, please. Murli and Amit. Yeah. Shriram, your perspective, please.
Look, I'd say, 500,000 people in the world have died so far, and banks are essential services, as Amit pointed out. I think it is a pausing point about the purpose of why banks exist in the first place. So it's a good trigger to think about the purpose of an organization. So whether your actions are purpose-led. The second is whether your actions are strategically anchored in the sense of the customer segments and the tier 2, tier 1 village, etc. All of those points about how you combine this situation to what happens on the strategy side. The third is about people, whether it's people driven, whether you're attributing enough value and enough decision making rights to the frontline people. And only fourth, in my view, is digital and technology driven. So you first got to have the purpose-led, you got to have strategically anchored, you got to be people-centered, then you can have technology-driven approaches. As a combination, then I suppose you would emerge better out of this COVID crisis.
Yes, Shriram, excellent perspective. I think this gives a larger picture, a bigger picture. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
And Nishant, your perspective, please.
Right. So I believe this phase has opened up a new set of opportunities for every business. Banks happen to be essential services, a part of everyone's life today across the world. So there's even more opportunity for them. I believe they're going to compete with the fintech companies that exist, or maybe even acquire a few of the fintech companies that have progressed in digital payments and other solutions for customers in the digital space. So I believe the customer is going to remain king, to become a bigger king with all the additional digital services that are going to come his way. Banks are going to benefit because they're going to save on money. They're going to save on their budgets because they wouldn't have to maintain the same large branches with so many people, so many managers. They can shrink that and go out to a lot more customers using digital. So there's ample opportunity for growth. There's a lot of ground to be covered, of course, from today onwards. Moving up to 2025, and there's a lot of innovation that we're going to see. So it's exciting times, it's fun times, and I think everybody's going to come out the other side, with a smile on their faces.
Great points with lots of optimism, Nishant. Thanks for that. So with this, I would like to thank our panel. I think you have been a great panel and great sets of inputs. And thanks to all the audience who have been watching this. So thank you, Amit. Thank you, Sriram. Thank you, Murli, and thank you, Nishant. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure
Thanks.
meeting everybody. Thank you.
Pleasure meeting you all. Thank you.